Wow, now that was loud. I was just walking along listening to my to music on the phone, and when I shut it off, I had an idea. And when I shut it off, it was when the music stopped. It was like an explosion that after it happens and then pulls back all the air out of the system, whoosh away, and it whooshed away all the sound. I don't know if it really did this. It probably did. It was so loud in my ears. When it whooshed away, it felt like I was pulled back out into the real world. And that's kind of what loud music does, to me at least. And I thought I'd stop and talk real quick about what loud music means to me. I'm a big, big fan of loud rock and roll, loud trance music, the stuff that gets you up in, the Alan Parsons Project. I don't know if Alan Parsons Project is trance. I don't know what trance is, but I like the idea of trance music. I love the really, really loud stuff that brings out the emotions. That stuff's the best. And I just wanted to tell you why I like it so much. Because it serves as a catalyst to thought. If I've got it's something bouncing around in the old cerebellum there, or wherever it is, but it won't quite come together. Sometimes it needs a little emotion, a little push to get it off the other side. And I found that loud music can be that push. It pushes the envelope out. Is that a mukade? No, it isn't. That was a baby giant centipede. That would have been cool. It pushes the ideas out. And it gives them a life. It animates them in some ways, like the Frankenstein monster, where you've got all the science and the technology down. It's all laid out. The corpse of your inspiration is laid out on the table with the electrodes popping out. And you just need some power, some lightning from above, a strike to come down and go through the coils, through the electrodes, and bring it animated to life. And for me, popping on a really good piece of a well-composed piece of rock and roll will do the job. And I think that stems from my youth. I was raised with loud music. My memories with my father and my mother and my brother, we were traveled every weekend. We were doing some sort of an adventure. Either in the summertime we were water skiing on the Colorado River, and in the wintertime we were dirt biking, motorcycle riding in the desert. And these involved long 4-hour plus drives into these places. And while we were driving in our we had a series of vans. We had a white van, and then red van, and then brown van. And while we had all those vans, my dad always had a really awesome stereo system, as did all the buddies, Wild Man and Jack Olson and all those guys. We always went in these caravans. All had awesome sound systems, really good speakers all over the van, and they would pop in, that excellent stuff. Back that was the 70s, and the Creedence Clearwater Revival, the Bachman Turner Overdrive. You guys have heard me mention these names before, Simon and Garfunkel, lots and lots of Pink Floyd, especially at night with the Floyd, when the whole family was to fall asleep, and we would be in the van, and my dad would let the bed in the back and allow, and I would sleep back there, and Mom would be asleep at the side, and it would be the graveyard dawn patrol shift, 3 a.m. dads, 2 a.m. dads driving home from the Colorado River in that caravan. All the dads are driving, all the women and all the kids are asleep, and we're back there, and Dad's got Wish You Were Here going, and then at full volume, and I'm back there in a half meditative state, sunburn burning off of my skin, laying there listening to the Floyd, and the little windows open there and the wind's blowing through, and I look up and see my dad sitting there with a little lid of his cigarette there, he'd roll down the CD and turn the volume down and talk to Wild Man or something like that. Those are big memories. Remember in our Frito-Lay potato chip truck when we were hippies, when we sold everything, we wandered through the United States and Canada. We were homeless, basically, a homeless vagabond family. We had that Frito-Lay truck, and we had that area up in front, and Lyle and I would sit there with our faces, no seatbelts or anything, just sit there with our faces like this, up against, our faces this close to the window, and we had the speakers right above our head, and Dad would play, whatever it was at that time, I can't even remember what half those albums were. He would play that, and it would just be right above our heads, and we would see it would be the road music, maybe Jackson Brown, Late for the Sky, bam, that's not so rock and rollish, but it was just the feeling, watching the road go by. We had the long hippie hair, and then we never knew where we'd stay. And that carried over when I became a teenager and I got my first car. I outfitted it with an outstanding sound system. It was just awesome. And Lyle and I would wander out through the desert. Then it turned from the sounds of the 70s to the sounds of the 80s. We would listen to Van Halen and it got into Rush and stuff like that. And even some of the pop stuff. We would head on down to the roller rink. We lived out in Lake Hughes, and we'd head on down to the roller cycling rink in Lancaster, which was a good 40-minute drive. And we'd head out on my old Camaro RS route in Raleigh Sport, and at 140 miles an hour. That was our cruising speed going from down the avenues we would come down that dip from the Elizabeth Lakes area heading towards Lake Hugh, towards Lancaster, and I was a fool, utter fool to drive that fast. But we'd be out there shirtless, all the 4 boys, myself and Lyle and David Hall and Lynn Gambrell and Lynn's a boy, and we would all be sitting in the car with those windows rolled down, and had kind of a downhill slope, and I had that big old Camaro with the 350 cubic inch motor, and I'd push that baby up to 140 miles an hour and just leave it cruising, idling. It was almost flying. Kind of roll like this. There was nobody around. Open space to the end. Never got pulled over. Nothing. Did it routinely. I can't believe I did it. Idiot. Kids don't do that. It was stupid of me. But we would do it. And we would turn the music on. We would get, I don't remember what we would listen to back then, but it was just so loud, pumping through the car. And, for 15, 20 minutes, we would go probably keeping 140 mile cruising speed for, 3 to 4 minutes. I never kept it up too high. Anyway, those emotions, and then later, further into adulthood, in college, likewise the same thing with my friend Eric Fong, and we would listen to Aha and Pet Shop Boys. We would drive around California, he and I, and Eric would complain that it just didn't get loud enough, and I agreed with him completely, and I missed those rides when we would look at each other and we could not talk to one another. There was no way to talk, and just had that wildness in our eyes. The music was a catalyst to thought, and when the music turned down, Eric and I would have the most amazing conversations, inspired and our minds vitalized, invigorated by the sounds. Later, when I moved to Japan the first time, I would do the same thing, and then it was my rush period, serious rush with headphones in, because in Japan you can't listen to it loud because there's people everywhere around. Headphones, and I'm sure I blew out a good portion of my ears, and it's been a lifelong thing ever since. Now, the value in that is, to me, when I have an idea that I just can't find a way to, like I have this morning, I have this idea that I want to share with you guys, just can't find the words. If I turn to the music, sometimes the words come out. They are buoyed by the emotions that the big music does, and it's not any music. Some people, maybe it's a low-level classical music that they can listen to, or just stuff at an ambient sound, but for me it's got to be overpowering, powering senses, the reverberating, emotions that it drives into me. And that's how it works for me. There is my muse. My muse is the music. My muse is the loud rock and roll, and I want to burn these ears out. I want to burn the whole damn thing out. I want to burn the whole body out. When I die, I want to be a crippled, hobbled, wound, battle-scarred individual. I mean, I have no interest in giving up this body in a healthy state. I fully intend to squeeze every single ounce of vitality out of it. And if it means that I shave 10 years, 20 years off my life, so be it. That's all right, as long as I squeeze it all out and squeezing everything into these ears through the power of sound, which then brings out the ideas within. It's fine by me. There you go. If you've got an inclination, loud music is the way to go. Just wish there was a way to go to level 15. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.